But this is my non-judgmental, beginner-friendly series of music theory. So if you want to start getting into music, if you want to know how to read music on a staff and to be able to read musical notes, then I would follow along. But hopefully you get the information that you need to start playing music. For today's video, I'm going to use this little mini whiteboard. So oftentimes I will be picking it up, drawing it, and showing it to the camera. But I just wanted to give you some vocabulary words so you know what you're talking about and you sound like you know what you're talking about. And some symbols and things to look for when reading music, okay? So first off, what do we write music on? It's called a staff, a musical staff. I always say the easiest way to remember it is if you look at your hand, because we have 5 fingers. Most of us have all five fingers, and we have 4 spaces in between each finger. Just like our staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces, okay? Same as our hands. So I'm gonna write that on my board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in my lifetime, I've drawn the staff probably thousands of times, and I still count to see if there's 5 lines and 4 spaces, okay? So don't feel crazy if you have to do that too. This is my staff. I just wanted to mention when there is multiple staffs, so if there are multiple groups of staffs, the plural word for staff is stave, S-T-A-V-E. So staff is singular and stave is plural. How we identify the notes that we are playing. In music, there's something called a clef, C-L-E-F. I believe it's 1 F. All right. The clef tells us what notes there are on the staff. Depending on the instrument, some instruments play higher notes, some instruments play lower notes, and some instruments play in between. Depending on the instrument that you are learning will determine the clef that you need to use to read the music. The first one we're going to talk about is called the treble clef. And this is the basic and the most commonly used clef in all music. You're probably thinking, now we know the clef that we need. We know the staff, which the music is written on. Now we need to know, how do we know the notes? Okay, so first we're going to learn the letters, and then we're going to learn the note values. Note values are how long or short you're playing the note. The note names tell you which sound is coming from your instrument. We're going to start off with our alphabet. Everybody should know their alphabet if they've been through, kindergarten, through, really you learn in kindergarten. But if you do not know your alphabet that well, that's okay. Because in the musical alphabet, there are only 7 letters. That's it, only 7 letters. And you could write a whole orchestral piece, a symphony, with just 7 letters in the musical alphabet. So those letters are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, there are no H's in music theory. There are no H's. There are no H's in the musical alphabet. I should say that. There are some H's in the musical theory. In musical theory about like certain vocabulary words. But in terms of pitches that you're playing or tone sounds that you're playing on your instrument, there are no H's. So if you can count to 7 and you can go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you know your whole musical alphabet. The great thing about the musical alphabet is that it repeats over and over again. After you get from A to G, you start over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so on. Now, you can easily see this on a piano. If you find the middle C and you go up every single one, it's the same thing, but all we're doing is starting here. But really, it's this over and over again, and you have your full musical alphabet. Now, you're probably thinking, Miss Lily, where do the music notes go on the staff? How do I know which letters are which? That's a great question. I'm here to show you. So, we're going to draw back our staff. If you erase, or if you have a bigger paper board than I do, draw your staff or go to where you originally drew it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines and 4 spaces. It is always the same. It does not change. Now, I'm going to draw my treble clef to the side. So we know that it is treble clef. And I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Okay. Now, how do we figure out which one is which? The best way to remember is to learn our lines and spaces first. So our spaces on the staff are very easy to remember because one, you always count from the bottom, no matter what. In music, you count from the bottom. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And those spaces spell out the word face. So if you could remember space face or face that rhymes with space, F-A-C-E. Okay, F-A-C-E. In treble clef, it is always the same. No matter what, it's always F-A-C-E and the spaces. Always the same. If you didn't know, if you didn't catch that. The lines are different. If we know our alphabet, we can just start by counting from our alphabet. If we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we know that this line would be G. Then it starts over. So we have G, A, B would be the next line, B. Then C is a space. D would be the line, E, and then F. Oops. Can't spell F. Then before G, before F, we have E on the bottom line. So if we count up alphabetically, we can easily go E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and over again until it goes higher or lower. It could go both ways. It can go beyond the staff, but for right now, we're only talking about the notes that are on the staff. So on the 5 lines and 4 spaces. Now I'm going to write that under here. Okay. The best way to remember which is which is to create an acronym that you can use to remember the word. So face is easy because it spells out a word that already exists, but it doesn't spell out anything. So when I was in elementary school, I learned even George Bush drives fast. You could tell how long I was in elementary school ago. Now, I always make a challenge for my students to create their own because not everybody's going to remember even George Bush drives fast. I've heard every good boy does fine, every good boy deserves fudge, and so on and so on. One of my students created, they said empanada, glazed donuts, and they used food words. So whatever you think that is going to help you remember, I would take a second, pause the video, and write it out now. So you can remember the 4 lines are the 5 lines are E, G, B, D, F, and however you want to remember it, that's how you remember it, and you lock it and you save it in your memory forever. Now we know the staff or staves, if it's a plural, the different clefs. So we talked about treble clef, so treble clef. And then we talked about our musical alphabet in the treble clef. And then I would put under here are lines and spaces. Those are all the things you need to know to be able to read and identify music, even if it's beginner friendly, because that's all basics that all musicians start off with. I hope this video helps. In the next one, we're going to talk about the rhythms and how long or short to hold them, and how to draw the rhythms onto the musical staff. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.